Welcome to another edition of One on One with Mitch Lafon. Joining me this week, one of my favorite singers of all time, formerly of Queensryche, the one, the only Geoff Tate, now part of Operation Mindcrime. The band is currently on tour and coming up to Canada in April. We talk about the tour, of course, the Key, his latest album, and the trilogy that it will eventually be part of. We look back at the album Rage for Order, as it is the 30th anniversary this year. We also look at Here in the Now Frontier. Lots from Geoff in the first part of this episode. In the second part, we have got Swedish guitarist ERIK MARTENSSON from the band Eclipse. He is back with a new album featuring Pretty Maids singer Ronnie Atkins. The album is called Nordic Union. It is early in the year, but this is definitely going to be on people's top 10 list of 2016. It is that good. We also talk about his band Eclipse. They are re-releasing their ARMAGEDDONIZE album from last year as a deluxe edition with a bonus track and then also a bonus disc featuring all kinds of acoustic versions, live versions, and the song that they are doing for EuroVison. A lot to cover, so let's get started. Here is my favorite singer, or certainly one of them, Geoff Tate. We are speaking with singer Geoff Tate. Geoff, always a pleasure to chat.
Hi, Mitch. How are you?
Good. We've got this tour coming up, and you've got Toronto and Ottawa coming up, which are going to be fantastic. I'm glad that you're coming back up to the Great White North. That'll be fun.
I'm looking forward to it, too. Now I can actually say it's a North American tour.
Yes.
Because now I have Canadian dates, where as of, I think, 2 days ago, I didn't have Canadian dates. So that's a wonderful announcement.
Yeah.
But I'm on tour now. I'm actually on tour now. I started in November in Europe and actually got to go to my 60th country that I performed in.
Wow.
While on that tour. And now I'm in Los Angeles tonight for a show. So I'll be looking forward to coming up your way soon. It's always a good time playing up in that neck of the woods. People really rock up there.
Yeah, Canada's been a great supporter of what you've done in the past, and I know that on this Ottawa date that was just announced yesterday, or in fact maybe even this morning, they pretty much sold out without even the tickets being on sale. The club got enough requests of please put our name down for 2 tickets that I think by the time it goes on sale, there'll be none left. So.
Oh, that's great! Great news.
Yeah, great news. So what are fans going to see with Geoff Tate on this tour?
Well, they're going to see a band that's on fire. I'll tell you that.
Right.
I have an incredible band, and we are playing songs from my career. Songs off The Warning, Rage for Order, Operation Mindcrime 1 and 2, Empire, American Soldier, T2K, all the albums, including songs from the new album, The Key, which just came out in September.
Right. Now, the Key, the last time we spoke, you told me that it was going to be a trilogy. Is that plan still the course of action, or have things changed?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah, The Key is the first album of a trilogy. The second album, just finished it now, and I turned it in June to be released in September.
Okay, and musically, where are we going with the second album?
Off the deep end, man. Really trying to push the envelope as much as possible. It's not actually pushing the envelope, it's just where my head's at, It's really no constraints, no holds barred, just going for what I feel the story that I'm working on needs,
Let me ask you, since you said that it's sort of going off the deep end, is there anything professionally that you haven't done that you still want to do, whether it's, be in the next Schwarzenegger movie or make a jazz album? What have you not done that you're still sort of pining to do?
I like to make a jazz album. In fact, I have one in the works.
Seriously?
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay. So what would that be like? I mean, is that something where you would be playing the saxophone and so on and so forth, or how would that come out?
It's songs that I've composed and that include all the kind of traditional jazz instrumentation of piano, drums, saxophone, bass, a little guitar, and vocal.
Is that something that you actually would put out under the Geoff Tate name, or just so you don't confuse the brand, you call it something else and say, hey?
Oh, God, I don't know. That stuff just bores the crap out of me.
Right.
Trying to figure out how to sell stuff. I'm honestly, Mitch, I'm just not into that. I'm not into trying to figure out how to sell myself. I'm just a musician, man. I write music. That's how the way I live and breathe. And, I put stuff out, and there you go.
Was that a frustration in your career? Because, listen, in the 80s and 90s, everybody was trying to put somebody in a box, right? I mean, you were the hair guys, and you were not the hair guys. You were the progressive guys, and then you were not was that frustrating for you?
All that stuff is just other people's perspective,
Right.
And it doesn't mean anything. It's like, what's truth? There is no one truth. There's a billion truths. And what people think of you, what they call you, how they try to classify you, all that stuff just doesn't mean anything. It's what the effect the music has on the individual that's important to me. And you never even know what that is. You just have to write what it is you're interested in and not worry about all the other stuff. Is it got enough, kick drum? Does it have enough guitar? Is it heavy enough? I hate that question. Is it heavy? What is that? What does that mean to anybody? It's a billion different stories,
But that's sort of, in the 2000s when you were with the other band doing these different albums, Tribe and all that, people started saying, well, it doesn't sound like classic. It doesn't sound like classic. And your point was always, I'm just making what sounds right today. This is what I'm feeling. And now that you're Operation Mindcrime, Geoff Tate, you're on your own, that's got to be liberating in the sense that you can actually do whatever you want and not have to worry about, well, it doesn't sound like, right?
I suppose. I don't even think about it.
Okay.
Let's move on.
All right, I shall. Rage for Order. I want to ask you about that album. It came out in 1986 and thus makes it the 30th anniversary. What can you tell me about that album going into it, coming off, what was it, The Warning, going into Rage for Order? What was sort of the mind space that you were in? What do you remember about making that album?
Well, my mindset was I wanted to make a record of music that was composed mainly of non-musical instruments. I was very much into sampling and had an emulator sampling keyboard at the time, which was a way to, you could record audio. And so you could take a recording of a drill or a lug nut tightener, at a machine shop, and you could record that and then play it over a number of different keys and make it into a musical piece, and that's what you hear a lot on that record is very, I guess, futuristic kind of musical arrangements. That's kind of that's where I was headed.
Looking back on it now, is it something that you're proud of, or do you listen back like most artists and go, oh, we should have done this, oh, we should have changed that, or is this one of those that holds up and you go, yeah, I think we got this right?
Well, for me, music is an evolving kind of thing.
Right.
It's always changing, and you have the ability to change it when you play live. So the parts that you think you could do differently that would be more interesting to you now, you can do that. You can change the melody here and there. You can expand on the arrangement, which I love doing because I think in the past, working with Queensryche, we got really obsessed with trying to adapt to radio formats, that would only let you play a 4-minute or 5-minute song on the radio, and it kind of seeped into our subconscious. When I say our, I mean, mine and Chris DeGarmo, who was working really closely with me at the time. We started thinking in that, how can we get from one part to the next quickly, and what I like to do now is kind of to slowly get to the next section. I like to bridge those particular sections with more interesting music. So you're not trying to fit all your ideas into a 3-minute piece,
Right. In 91, you re-released I Dream in Infrared Acoustic, and that version of the song is my absolute favorite. With this being the 30th anniversary, is there any plans for you to do any kind of celebration of it live? Play more tracks from it, play the whole thing, do any kind of, hey, here, heads up to this album?
Well, I hadn't even thought of that. That's a good idea.
Yeah.
I'm kind of playing, I'm playing several songs from that album now in my tour. That could be interesting to, kind of redo some tracks, here and there. We do an interesting acoustic section of this tour I'm on right now, where we change the instrumentation around quite a bit. We have stand-up bass comes out on stage and play different percussion instruments and acoustic guitars, and that's a really neat section of the show that I'm really really liking quite a bit. And we do one of the songs from Rage to Order with that in that arrangement.
I would definitely love to see I Dream in Infrared in that section of the show. Another album that I wanted to ask you about that we haven't spoken much about, but it's almost its 20th anniversary, is Here in the Now Frontier.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, between that and Promised Land, there are two albums from the band that I really, really enjoyed, and yet, sometimes others don't agree so much. But what can you tell me about working on Here in the Now Frontier and moving away from Empire and moving away from Promised Land? What was sort of the band's focus, or your focus, since I guess you were the main songwriter, on that album? Because you think of a song like Sign of the Time, or I'm trying to think of that. Chasing Blue Skies. I love that song. Absolute fantastic. What was that like, working on that album?
Well, Here in the Now Frontier was an interesting animal. To my ears, it is a lot closer to Empire than Promised Land was. It has very similar kind of song construction, and lyrical content, very similar to Empire. It's probably, for me, one of the albums I just don't listen to much anymore. I think I probably have listened to that album maybe twice through.
Really?
Since it's come out. Yeah, I just don't listen to my albums very much.
Right.
Honestly. I'm kind of busy working on the next one, and if I listen to one of them, it's for reference purposes, like, well, how did I do that? Or how does this section go here? I've forgotten. I don't forget a lot when it comes to music I've written, but now and then I'll have to refresh my memory.
Yeah, and as I interview artists, they always say we don't listen back, and I understand that, because you've played with it for 6 months, a year, 2 years. It's at some point you just got to let it go, right?
You do have to let it go, and you have to walk away from it, and hopefully you feel confident and good about it, that you've explored it, that's explored the ideas as fully as you could have, and then you start working on what's next. And then maybe a year or two later, or 3 years, 5 years, 20 years, you listen back and you go, oh, okay, good memories. It seems like the good memories last, the bad memories that surround a particular song or a particular time in your life, you forget,
Yeah. Now, so when you say you haven't listened to it more than twice, other than the fact that we're moving away from it, is that suggesting that you're just not proud of that album? You just
no,
okay.
Not at all. I'm just, I'm into the next thing. So
okay.
I'm not one to really reminisce about any album I've done,
Well, then I shouldn't walk you down through all these albums. Okay, then let's move.
Well, I know. I mean, it's interesting that I have memories, associated with it. I remember working at specific studios. I could tell you that while I was at an incredibly expensive studio in Nashville, mixing here in the Now Frontier. I had a new puppy, a boxer,
Right.
and he was in the studio with us, and I was trying to train him, but boxers are very difficult to train. And we're listening to playback on one of the tracks, and all of a sudden the whole studio goes black, and the sound stops, and we can't figure out what's going on. There's flashlights going up everywhere. Everybody's looking for problems, and we find the problem. It's my dog. He's crawled underneath the console, and he's chewed through the main power cable and shorted out the whole studio.
And how much exactly did that cost you? Or how much did the record company pay for that?
It's the most expensive record I ever made.
Yeah, well, speaking of records, we touched upon it last time. We spoke about this studio in Quebec, Morin Heights, where you had done Operation Mindcrime, and I had sent you that link to the video where the thing had been derelict. It's been left to ruins. Unbelievable, right? Yeah,
really, really quite a shame and quite shocking to see that video, because my mind's eye remembers it as it was, which to me it was like NASA. I mean, they had all the latest gear and computers, and just at that time, computers were a new thing in music, and they had everything that was the latest thing that you could have. The studio had it, and the place was just packed full of gear, and there was a vibrant staff of people who knew what they were doing and were enthusiastic about being there. And it was just a complete shock to see it derelict with holes in the wall and rain coming through, and shocking.
Yeah, it's unbelievable, especially when you think that the police and Rush and you guys, and it's just left to rot. Back to the trilogy of The Key. Is the trilogy something that you want to do successively, like first album, second album, third album, or do you want to do one album, then another of whatever, and then come back? Does it have to be successive, or are you hoping to make it successive, or can you skip and do another album project in between, kind of thing?
No, it is. The second album's finished, and it'll be out in September, and the third album is nearing completion now. So they'll happen. Every September there'll be, for the next 2 years, there'll be a release of the trilogy here. Okay,
so they're going to come back to back. You had mentioned also in the past that you thought of Operation Mindcrime as a trilogy, and of course a part 1 and a part 2 were done. Would you consider, or are you even legally allowed to make an Operation Mindcrime part 3?
Oh yeah, I could if I so chose to.
Okay.
Yeah, maybe.
Could be interesting.
You're introducing interesting ideas for me here, Mitch. That's great.
Which is not bad. Well, because I'm going back through all the different interviews we've done. There was an Operation Mindcrime script, or what treatment, I guess is the word for it, in terms of a movie.
There's been several, yeah.
Yeah, is that something that still interests you?
Oh, yeah. It's always been interesting to me. When books or albums our stories are made into films, it's a whole different thing, than making a record and releasing it. There's all these different entities that come into play, and most of them are financial entities, because making films is hugely expensive, and nobody wants to front the money themselves. So it takes a conglomerate of people to come together and make a film, And I've been approached of at least 4 or 5 times from different parties interested in making a movie out of Operation Mindcrime. And each one of them has gotten to a point of development and then fallen apart because of financing.
That great word, financing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Before we started, we mentioned, we were talking off the air quickly about as we get older and so on and so forth. As you get older, your voice is your instrument, but it's also part of your body. Unlike a guitar, have you noticed any changes? Are you doing anything to preserve it? Because the Geoff Tate voice is, to me, iconic.
I do the same thing I've always done. It's just trying to live a moderate lifestyle without too many indulgences. It's a full-time job. because life is so rich and, rewarding that you want to, live life to its fullest, right?
Oh, absolutely. Which,
Yeah.
in my case, is just interviewing rock stars. That's it. That's all I need to do.
God, I cringe every time somebody says that word, rock star.
Yeah.
When I was growing up, Mitch, that was a derogatory term.
Yeah, it was.
Oh yeah, it's completely changed now. I mean, you can be a rock star if you purchase the energy drink, but to call somebody a rock star was you were slamming them, because they weren't a musician, they were a personality.
It's interesting you mentioned that. When you're on the outside looking in, you say, people go, "Oh, I want to be a rock star. Oh, yeah, he's a rock star." But when you are one, I guess you don't really see yourself as that, right? You're just Geoff. You're just the guy from whatever, Seattle. I'm just the dad, right? I mean, you right?
Yeah, well, it is. Yeah, to a certain extent. My daughter Emily was just talking about this the other day because she's out on the tour working for me right now, and she gets approached by people all the time, and they say, "So what's it like, having your dad, eat dinner with you?"
Yeah.
What happens? She goes, "Well, what do you think happens? We have dinner, we have conversation, we have some laughs, and then he helps do the dishes."
You mean you don't have a maid and all kinds of helpers to do all that stuff? No.
Well, what about Satan? Does he come over for dinner?
That's an open-ended question right there, knowing that. But in fact, before we get to Satan, let me just talk about the band. John Moyer is back doing the stuff with Disturbed. Brian Tichy is doing stuff with Dead Daisies. You've got Simon Wright. Is the band, as it is now, going on tour, the band, or do you like sort of the fact that it has these moving parts where John comes in, John comes out, Simon comes in, Simon? Is that what you like, or do you want it, or is this like now these are the guys, period?
Oh no, I like the moving parts.
Okay.
Yeah, I like it when people come in and out, and it keeps everybody on their toes. I mean, they actually have to know the music inside and out because they can't rely on that guy, leading them. They've got to be able to know where they're at, right? It makes you, I think, much more attentive and focused on the actual music content and the arrangement of the music, Yeah. And I think it makes for a better overall band performance to have that kind of mindset.
And it must be refreshing for you also to have that new energy. And I certainly don't want to put down the guys you played with before in Queensryche, but when you're with a band for 30 years, the guitarist is going to do this. The drummer is going to do that. And I don't see you as a guy who likes static. I see you as a guy who likes experimentation, who likes something new. So this has got to be like a new challenge for you, and it's got to be opening your eyes and going, "Wow, this is great!" Different guys every night or every album.
Yeah, it is. It's challenging, and that's what I like about it. It's not the same old thing, and it's I feel, I don't know, motivated, inspired, and I think that it's a great thing to play with people that inspire you, It's like somebody used to tell me, if you want to learn how to play basketball with people that are older and have more experience than you, and you'll get a lot better quicker, Or if you want to learn a foreign language, immerse yourself in it and speak with people continuously in a foreign language, and you'll get better at it quickly. And it's like that playing with musicians, You want to play with somebody that just, oh my God, that performance they did in that passage just gave me goosebumps, and it pushes you to excel yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. Geoff, always a pleasure, and I'm very much looking forward to seeing you in Ottawa on April 10th, I should say, at the Brass Monkey, April 9th at the Rock Pile in Toronto, and of course, everybody else listening, I guess we should check out geofftate.com or the Facebook page where all the dates are.
Yeah, OperationMindcrime.com, Operation Mindcrime Facebook, Geoff Tate Facebook. Yeah, all those places have all the info that one would need. And
hey, always a pleasure. It's always a great moment to speak with you. I've enjoyed your music, and I've enjoyed you personally as in conversation for, I guess 20 years now that we've done these interviews. And hey, from Rage for Order to Promised Land, which I've told you I think 18,000 times is my favorite Queensryche album. Thank you. Just thank you.
Well, thank you, Mitch. Thanks for the interview, and good talking to you, and I hope you feel better, and look forward to seeing you in April.
Yeah, just a little tired today, but we got it done, so thank you. And yeah, we'll see you in April.
You bet.
Cheers.
Okay, man. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
And there you have it, folks, my interview with singer Geoff Tate. Certainly, I'm looking forward to seeing him this April in Ottawa, Ontario at the Brass Monkey. Cannot get enough of Geoff Tate live, and I certainly hope at some point that we will see some kind of Rage for Order 30th anniversary show. I think that would be exceptionally cool and worth going to see. Let's keep going. From Nordic Union, which features Pretty Maids singer Ronnie Atkins, is guitarist ERIK MARTENSSON, also talking about his band Eclipse and the re-release of their 2015 album ARMAGEDDONIZE as a deluxe edition. But first, let's talk to ERIK about Nordic Union. Here is ERIK MARTENSSON. We are speaking with ERIK MARTENSSON of Eclipse and also of Nordic Union these days. Good day, ERIK.
Good day. How are you?
Good. Always a pleasure to speak. I'm a huge fan of everything you do. You do Eclipse. You did Wet. What's the one?
Ammunition.
Ammunition. I was going to say Armageddon, but that's the album. Yeah, Ammunition, and it's just great stuff. And so let's start there. You have always said that you make albums that you yourself would want to buy.
Yeah.
Tell me.
It's
about
true. It's
right.
That's if you go back, if you take back to 10 years ago, I was doing music that I thought other wanted to hear. I wasn't kind of, I was new in the business. I wanted to do something that people liked, and you will listen to stuff that was on the radio or whatever, and I tried to copy that, and it was no success. And then the whole band with Eclipse, especially, there was no. We didn't do the thing we wanted to do ourselves, and we wasn't happy what we were doing. And then we kind of, started all over again. Okay, let's do an album that we want to hear. Let's just do the music that we love and don't care about what other will think. And we did we didn't even have a record label back then because we kind of were in between albums and then we did the album kind of that we would love to hear, and everyone was going, "Wow, this is really good! You what a big change! It sounds fantastic!" And like, are you real? Do you also like this as well? So, and that was kind of the start for the success. if it is a success story for my writing and the productions and stuff, I always do the music that I want to hear and so that means I write from the heart, and I write with the music I love, and I think that it's very honest and true to myself, and even if a record is a failure, it doesn't matter because I'm happy with it myself, and that is the only thing I can think about, to be honest. You can never understand what people really want from you. You got to do the stuff you like yourself, and let's hope people like it.
Where do you see yourself in the music business in terms of what's your greatest attribute? Are you the guitarist guy? Are you the vocalist? Or are you the writer? Because you've done stuff for Revolution Saints, Jimi Jamison, the stuff with Wet. I said Revolution Saints, Nordic Union now. Are you a writer? Yeah. Are you a guitar player? Are you the singer? What's your key to success?
I was a guitar player that liked to write some guitar riffs and do some stuff at home, but I think nowadays I think I'm a little bit of everything. I didn't want to be a singer, but now I'm turning out to be a singer, even if I didn't want to, well, I actually enjoy doing a little of everything, to be honest. And playing guitar is a vital part of doing hard rock. The guitar is the central part, and that's where I'm coming from. And and as I had the ability to sing, I do melodies, and I was forced to sing in the beginning of my career, and I kind of got stuck doing it, to be honest.
You got stuck doing it. So let's talk about Nordic Union. Here you are with Ronnie Atkins of Pretty Maids. Now, Pretty Maids have been around since the early 80s, out of Denmark, which in fact is where my family is from. And
okay, cool.
Yeah, we're Danish. Can't you tell with a name like Mitch? But they really haven't had the success in North America that they deserve, because they're a great band, but they've still been at it for over 30 years. In fact, almost 40 years at this point, right?
Yeah.
Talk to me about working with Ronnie, because he's obviously going to come into a project with a sensibility that this is who he is. I'm the guy from Pretty Maids. This is the kind of music I do. And with all due respect, you're the new kid on the block. What are you going to teach me? So how does this come together, and how did you make it work?
The whole thing started, of course, with our label, because we both Pretty Maids and Eclipse are on the same label, Frontiers Records. And Serafino suggested that we maybe doing something together, and he asked Ronnie, and we kind of got hooked up by him. And I've always liked Pretty Maids a lot, and Pretty Maids, the sound of Pretty Maids is a huge influence for my main band Eclipse. So for me, it was a no-brainer to do an album together with Ronnie. But as you said, it's for him, what was it in for him? Because I was a new kid. He didn't. We've met a couple of times that we played the same festivals, but I talked to him. He's a really, really nice guy, very down-to-earth guy, and he never, even from the first mail or first conversation on phone, he was no rock star and showing the kid, how's it working. He was a really, really nice guy, and and he said, but he was very picky. He really wanted it to be great songs, and he listened to some Eclipse stuff, and he liked what he heard. And I did 2 songs. I did a song called Hypocrisy and a song called When Death is Calling. And I sent them to him, and he fell in love with the songs and thought, but this was really good. And so we kind of started working from there, and it was so easy to working with him. And he's really professional, and he's working really hard. He's doing 100% when he's doing the vocals in the studio, and he's really, he's very, very professional and very easy to work with.
So where do we go from here with Nordic Union? Is this sort of a one and done kind of thing, or do you hope for an album number 2 and you hope to go on tour?
At this point, we have no plans at all. The only plan was to do an album and see how it worked out. And there was we haven't had any plans. We didn't know if people would even like the album, to be honest. But now it seems like the people actually really like it, and it seems to be kind of people seems to buy the album as well. So we kind of take it as it goes along, and if there is interest, we will do a new album and play live. I would love to do it. So for me, it is no. Yeah. I would say yes instantly, but I know but we have to be realistic as well, because I got Eclipse and we got a lot of stuff going on at the moment. And Pretty Maids is doing a new album. Ronnie is going to go out for a 10-week tour with Avantasia, and so we are actually very busy, to be honest.
Yeah, so let's talk about all this busy stuff, because in the old days, if you harken back to the 70s and 80s and the glory days of rock, people focused on one project. If it was Eclipse, or if it was Aerosmith, if it was, they did just that, and they didn't sort of spread themselves. Now the new reality is, in order to be a working musician, you sort of have to spread yourself.
Yeah.
Is it a bit frustrating to not be able to just be Eclipse 24 hours a day and just work on making that the biggest band?
Both yes and no. Of course, I would have loved to. We just focus on one thing, and as you say, the reality is that there is no money in doing music. Almost, it's even if there are, of course, the big bands make tons of money, but
nobody else
for
does.
bands, no, nobody else does. It's really hard to get it working with the economy and everything. So, when I deliver one album, I got to start work on. If I deliver an album on a Friday, I got to start working on a new one on a Monday. It's like it's what I make a living out of doing, and I got the money's got to go in and pay the bills, but having said that, if you take away the gray reality, it's also a very good thing because I have a lot of creativity in myself. I can write songs, if you give me a guitar 5 minutes, I will walk into a room and then I have a song ready for you. It might not be the best song you've heard, but it would be a song, and it's a chance for me to kind of write and do stuff that I don't do. We can just with Eclipse, it's just one kind of sort of style we want to focus on, but with this I can do stuff all over the place, and that's for the creativity. That's really good, and that is something I can learn from doing and bring back to Eclipse as well. So I think our band becomes better from all the projects I'm doing, to be honest.
Okay, so let's talk about this. In fact, since you mentioned you can walk into a room for 5 minutes and you can get a song done, you didn't start off wanting to do this. If we go back to when you were younger, you wanted to be a motocross superstar. That was your thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I would want to drive motocross, and that was the only thing I was focused on doing. And
then you had an accident.
I had an accident, not a huge accident, but I broke my foot and my left leg pretty bad. So it got even. Still, I got 8 screws and a lot of metal in there. But the thing is, I had 8 weeks in what's it called, plaster?
Well,
in English, plaster.
A cast.
A cast, yeah, 8 weeks, and it meant I couldn't drive for the whole year was totally gone. So I was, between driving motocross, I was playing guitar, but now I had no other thing to do but sitting in my room and play guitar. That kind of changed focus from motocross to, it's a kind of, wow, this is really fun doing. And, then I got into a music school, and, my life, kind of slowly changed into that direction. So I kind of started pretty late, and I've never had any plans in making a living out of doing music at all. It was just something I did for fun in between, and so I've never had any goal to be a successful singer or being in a successful band or anything. It's just everything just kind of happens, and then it still does kind of. I still don't have a plan at all.
It just kind of happens.
It just kind of happens. Honestly, I'm the worst businessman ever.
So let me talk. Let me just quickly go back to that accident for a second. How are you physically now, though? I know you have those screws in your leg. Do they prohibit you from doing anything, or when you're on stage doing a show, do you end up being in pain at the end of the night, or? No.
It's fine. I'm totally recovered, and
Okay.
I didn't stop driving motocross, but the focus kind of changed, and for every year, it was less and less motocross. I moved from my father's house. I moved to Stockholm, and it's made it harder, to work with to drive motocross and this stuff. So, the focus kind of changed, and I became an adult, and then I got a girlfriend and kids, and everything changes, and you can't do everything all at once. So and the music got a big, started to take a big part of my time and focus, and it's my health has been so much better since I started stopped driving motocross. I was constantly I've been in an ambulance 7 times to be.
Jeez.
Yeah.
Was the leg the worst injury? Did you break a collarbone or anything else? Or
yeah, I broke my collarbone 3 times. I've broken ribs. I've broken. I've been. I don't know what it's called, but the spine has been hurt. It's been. I've been unconscious 2 times.
Boy, rock and roll is not as dangerous as it sounds. Then when you compare it to that, so in that
nothing.
Did you consider yourself a good writer or a good guitarist before, or did those 8 weeks really help center you and say, I got nothing else to do, we're just going to do this now?
Not really, I've never had a plan, so I just played guitar. There was nothing else to do. I played guitar, watched some television. I couldn't do anything. I couldn't work, couldn't and I it was after I quit school as well. So, I was finished with the education. So
it's been a while. The other thing I want to ask you about is the late Jimi Jamison. He passed away, of course, in 2014, and you worked on the Never Too Late album with him. What was that experience like? Here's a guy who had a pedigree. Everybody knew the name and knew what he stood for. And again, they bring in an unknown entity and say, now you're going to write his next single. You're going to write his next big hit. What was that experience like, making that album, the Never Too Late album?
I stick to that. Jimi Jamison is the best AOR singer ever. He's the kind of the... Oh, yeah, absolutely. He has the voice of AOR, melodic rock. So I think for me it was a huge honor doing that album with him, and so for him to let me in, like this young kid, to do an album together with him, it's just amazing that he could put that trust in a guy from another continent doing his solo album. It's just amazing, and I'm so honored to have had that chance to do it. And I wrote more or less the whole album. Jimi didn't write a single note on that album, to be honest. And he put down the vocals, and he was really proud of that album. We met a couple of times. He did I did the songs. I did everything here in Sweden, and he did all the vocals in Memphis. But we met on festivals a couple of times, and we talked over mail and phone and stuff. But for me, it was a huge honor to do it.
Yeah, it must have been. And now, speaking of huge honor, EuroVison. Eclipse has entered the EuroVison contest. Now, for North America, Canada, and the States, you say EuroVison, you go, what the hell's that? But for Europe,
yep,
it's the biggest thing in the world.
It's well, it's not, maybe not the biggest thing in the world, but it's
important.
Huge. It's a huge musical event. And in Sweden, we're going to participate in the Sweden. We know we're not going to be in the EuroVison. EuroVison is a big final because every country in Europe have in their own qualifications. But the thing is that you can play it on best. We can play hard rock on prime time on a Saturday night. We can play a 3-minute long song. We're going to do interviews. We're going to get mainstream media that never covers hard rock at all. But this time, it's a huge event, and they're going to cover it, and they're going to talk about the group. So for us, it's the best opportunity to show Sweden that we exist, because even if a lot of people in hard rock, they know, of course, that what Eclipse is, but the mainstream people, they don't know about it. About Eclipse, and it's off their radar. But from in 1 month, when we're gonna be there on the 27th of February. Almost everyone between 5 years and 65 years, they're gonna know the name Eclipse in Sweden, and that the PR is enormous. That is a big part of doing it.
Is part of the reason you want to do it just for the public exposure, or just the PR, or do you actually really want to win this because it means something to you?
To be honest, it doesn't mean shit for me. I haven't watched it, right? Because it's just pop music. It's just,
right.
Of course there are good songs and good artists. I don't mean that I hate everything about it, not at all. But it's not my thing. I'm not that interested. But as my whole life, there's never been hard rock on mainstream media or on television. Sometimes you get a minute here, a minute there. When they're gonna do something. If Iron Maiden is in Stockholm, maybe they show something in the news, or maybe. But you never see. It's always been pop music or everything but hard rock. And this is we have an opportunity to play hard rock on mainstream media on best prime time. It's a no-brainer for us. Yeah, we got to grab it. It's great.
Now, for the festival, you've prepared a new song called Runaways, and there's also plans to re-release and repackage Armageddonize.
Yep.
Talk about that. Is Runaways, a song that is for the next Eclipse record, and since it's ready, let's play it, or was this sort of done just for the Eurovision thing? And where are we in the next record, and what is this repackaging? Let's cover everything Eclipse right now.
Okay, yeah. The thing is, usually people send in songs. Big labels and artists, they fight tooth and nail to be in this contest because it can mean huge PR and huge money for labels and artists. Because if you're an artist and if you go to the final, it means you will have a year or a year and a half of income. You don't have to do anything else. You can just focus on playing live and just do that. But we never wanted to be a part of this at all because it's a contest, but Swedish television actually called us and asked us if we wanted to do it, and this was 1.5 weeks before we went on our big the second leg of the European ARMAGEDDONIZE tour last year. So as I said, there's no chance I'm going to be able to write a new song for this at all because I had to deliver a song within a specific time frame because there are some rules. And but I had this song that I had initially written for the Nordic Union album, and it sounded very Eclipse, and it could fit to be cut. It's got to be 3 minutes long, and I was able to cut it down to 3 minutes. I talked to Ronnie and said about I'm gonna send in this song because they asked us, and it would be a huge opportunity for the band, and he was like, okay, go for it. So I edited the song, and then we sent it in. And when we were in Bratislava in Slovakia, we got a new mail from Swedish television because I told them that it's going to be on an album called Nordic Union. You got to be fast on letting us know if it's going to be in or not. And I told Ronnie, there's no chance we're going to be there. It's just they just asked us. It's not going to happen. And then I got a mail, and they said, "Is the song available? Or you still want to do it?" And we asked, "Okay, we want to do it." And then we came back after the tour and said, "You're going to be in the contest." So we edited the whole song and turned it into real Eclipse. So now it sounds like it could have been on the ARMAGEDDONIZE album easily. So now it sounds like a typical Eclipse song, and it's not written for this format. It's not written to be a hit song at all. It's just a one song.
Right. So what's the re-released and repackaged ARMAGEDDONIZE, and when does that come out? And what are the bonus tracks?
The bonus tracks are, of course, the song Runaways, and it's also going to be a full concert from a festival in Sweden. It's going to be 11 songs. This the whole concert from the first song to the last. It's going to be unedited, and there's going to be a bonus CD, and it's also going to be 5 extra bonus track on that one as well. It's going to be some acoustic, the Japanese bonus tracks, and some also very special. There was B-sides on a single called "Bleeding the Scream" several years ago.
Oh, that's great!
So it's going to be a great package.
And so when does that see the light of day? When do we see that?
28th, the day after the contest. We cannot release the song until so the song Runaways is this big secret. It cannot get out because we will be disqualified if it gets out.
Okay. So, but the album after that, the repackaged ARMAGEDDONIZE comes out February 28th.
Yeah, it's the day after.
Oh, that's fantastic. Yeah. And we'll finish on this. I bought the Nordic Union album. I really think it's fantastic. It's a great piece of work, and so I certainly hope there's more. That's definitely something that needs to happen. And I forgot, Eclipse also has a new drummer, Philip Krushner. Yeah, you want to just a quick comment on bringing Philip into the band?
Yeah, the thing is that Robert Beck, who played drums earlier, he
went to Mustache.
He went to Mustache, a Swedish band, and it was economical reasons because Robin didn't have a lot of money. He had he has 2 kids, and he only wanted to do drumming, and he got this proposal to be in this band, and they are in Sweden. They are really, really big. It's one of the biggest hard rock bands in Sweden. They not the whole of Europe. They're not so big, but in Scandinavia they're really big. So he couldn't refuse the offer to be in the band, and we the bills got to be paid, and of course, we wish him all the luck, but we had to move on because he can't be, as we Eclipse are also touring a lot, and Mustache is doing the same thing. So that means it would be a lot of trouble if he was in both bands. So it's just that then you got to go, and so we brought in Philip, and he's a really, really good drummer. He's a really nice guy. He's the perfect guy for the band. I couldn't really tell it. We did a gig together. I couldn't really tell the difference if it was Robin playing or Philip playing. He picked the old songs perfectly. So I think it's going to make a fantastic contribution to this band, to be honest.
I really think so, and I look forward to the new Eclipse. Hopefully, we'll see something in 2017. Erik, always a pleasure.
It's a pleasure.
And thank you, and good luck with the Nordic Union. The fan reaction has been great. I'm telling people who haven't heard it, I bought it. It is great. And Erik, continued success with Ammunition and all the 87 bands that you're part of.
Oh, it's a mess. But we're working on a new Ammunition right now. We've done 5 or 6 songs already.
Mm-hmm. Oh, great. And is that for 2016?
Yeah, it's going to be released this year, and it's going to be a new Eclipse for 17 as well. So
the world just keeps getting brighter and brighter. That's all I'm going to say. But I've got to say, everything you've touched has been great. You have a very good, I don't want to say a pop sensibility, I guess a melodic rock sensibility. You know how to make great melodic rock, and so I thank you for that, and I thank you for today.
Thank you so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be.
Thank you, Erik. And we'll do this again
thank you
soon.
so much.
Yep.
Yeah, hopefully. have a great day. You're gonna have a great evening soon.
Yes, absolutely.
A great afternoon.
Yes. It's
Bye.
only 3 here. Bye now.
And there you have it, folks. My interview with guitarist ERIK MARTENSSON of Nordic Union and, of course, his band, Eclipse. I'd like to take this moment to thank Geoff Tate for being a part of the show, as well as Erik. Please do yourself a favor and check out the album Nordic Union. It is well worth your money. And on that, I say thank you and bye for now. But first, make sure you check out at Mitch Lafon and the One-on-One with Mitch Lafon Facebook page. And so on that, now we can officially say bye for now.